Lawyer Abdul Oroh, you are one of the lawyers of the Anglophone leaders who were arrested in Nigeria and deported to Cameroon. Now it depends. Some say they were kidnapped and deported. So it depends on where you stand on the wall. To the terminology also varies. Now, recently, and not long ago, I think if I'm not wrong, that was last month, the Abuja High Court ruled in favor of the 10 arrested and deported to Cameroon, plus the 47 who were also arrested in Gembu, Taraba State, and also deported to Cameroon. The ruling was that their deportation was unlawful. Before going into the details on that, how did we or did you get here where you are today?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Let me start by saying that on January 5th, 2018, 12 leaders of the Southern Cameroon movement were arrested at Nera Hotel, Jabi district of Abuja. And they were, at the time they were arrested, it was not clear who was behind it. So when I was consulted by a member of the family, I went to the Directorate of State Security to inquire because they are normally responsible for such actions. And when I got there, they denied it emphatically that they were not responsible. So I now wrote to the National Security Advisor to inquire about them. I wrote to the Minister of Defense and to the Inspector General of Police. The police also denied any involvement. So during my investigation, it became clear that officers and soldiers from the Brigade of Guards that they were arrested by officers and soldiers from the Brigade of Guards. They were at the garden of the hotel just to have a New Year drink and discuss issues about refugees, the surge in Southern Cameroonian refugees into Nigeria. So they had not even started the meeting when they were all arrested, asked to lie down, face down, and they were handcuffed and taken to the Defense Intelligence Agency. That's where they were detained, an underground facility at the Defense Intelligence Agency. So when the information got to us where they were, we contacted the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. We also contacted the Nigerian Foreign Minister and the Office of the Vice President to quickly ask that they be released because of their status as refugees and asylum seekers and other people of concern. Also, because these people were professors and lecturers and businessmen who with legal residents of Nigeria. So for them to be picked up and arrested for us was an abuse. Was a violation of their fundamental rights. Some of them, at least two of them, were identified at that time as Nigerians. So we also made a strong case that they should be released. Then when the UN High Commission for Refugees on the 19th of January went to profile them and interviewed all of them. They wrote a letter to the foreign minister and they were granted an audience to see them and profile them. So after the profiling, they were able to establish their true status. Like I said, that they were refugees and asylum seekers. So they were protected under the UN Convention on the Status of Refugees 1951, the Nigerian Constitution, and also the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. So when we now ascertain this fact, I went to court to enforce their fundamental rights. So we filed the fundamental rights and the actions under the fundamental rights enforcement procedure of 1990. And during the pendency of this action, that is before the action was decided, they were deported in a cruel manner, in the most unconscionable manner by they were blindfolded, handcuffed, and driven straight to the airport where a Cameroonian military plane was waiting for them. So at the airport, two of them who were dropped, who resisted, who insisted that were Nigerians, were dropped. That is Dr. Ojong Okung and Nalo Abi, Barrister Nalo Abi, were dropped and taken back to detention. The other 10 were put in a military aircraft which was not supposed to carry civilians because there were no seats. They were handcuffed and brutalized until they arrived in Yaoundé in the night. The Nigerian government at this point denied knowledge of this event, but the Cameroonian government, basking in the glory of whatever, maybe their invisibility, announced their arrest, that they have been brought to Cameroon and that they will face Cameroonian justice. That is according to the former Minister of Communication, Bakari Chiroma.
Issa Chiroma, yeah.
Issa Bakari Chiroma. So when we heard about that, we were really, really upset. We felt degraded as Nigerians that people who are under our protection, under the protection of our laws and our constitution, could just be bundled into a military aircraft and taken to a place where they have reasonable fear for their lives and for their safety.
Okay.
So we now have to file another action asking the court to declare that the deportation was illegal and that they should be repatriated and compensated. In the two actions, we ask that they be compensated because they were denied all the various freedoms of freedom of right to life, freedom of association, to hold meetings, all kinds of freedom, including they were denied access to their lawyers and families, which is a breach of their right to fair hearing.
Okay.
And all that. So after that, we made all these efforts to see how we can see them. And then I now went to Cameroon in April, late March, early April, and tried to establish where they were and to see if I could be granted access to see them. I went to Yaoundé. I went to the Ministry of Justice where they asked for a formal letter, and I submitted a letter. Before then, we had approached the Cameroonian High Commission in Abuja, where we met the ambassador and asked that they be granted access. So when we didn't hear from the embassy, I went to Cameroon. Then I submitted the letter. I spent 4 days without being attended to, so I returned to Nigeria. So we have been having this challenge of how to defend them, how to get them to release them. When eventually they were brought before a military tribunal in Yaoundé.
Now, there is something which I would like to ask. When you talk about there were some Nigerians among them, and among those Nigerians, 2 resisted deportation.
They were shouting at the airport that they were not Nigerian, they were not Cameroonians, and that they were Nigerians because they had Nigerian passports, both of them. So because of that, and the security men were aware that they had Nigerian passports because they found them in their possession.
Okay.
So on the strength of that, they were not deported. They were not allowed. They didn't allow the Cameroonian authorities to take them away.
Now, you also claim that among those who are currently in Cameroon, some of them are Nigerian.
No, of the 10,
Yes.
the Naira 10, I don't know any who is a Nigerian.
Who's Nigerian?
Yes.
Okay.
None of them has claimed to be a Nigerian.
All right.
They were legal residents of Nigeria. They are all professors working in various Nigerian universities and also businessmen.
Okay, what will you say about the allegation that they were simply deported or arrested because the Nigerian judiciary and the Nigerian security were, how can I use that word, but anyway, corrupted by the Cameroonian officials?
The Nigerian judiciary was not responsible for their deportation.
Okay.
In fact, the due process of law was not followed.
Was not followed. Now the Nigerian security services that went ahead, arrested them, did they do that because it was an order from the Nigerian government, or they were bought over by the Cameroonian authorities?
Well, I would say that I don't have evidence to suggest that anybody was bought over. The only evidence that we have and which has been brought before the court is the fact that they were arrested and they were abducted or arrested, whichever word you want to use, at the behest of the National Security Advisor to the President of Nigeria.
Okay.
So you could say now that it was the Nigerian government that deported them.
Okay, now, but why can you also explain to me and to those who will be watching you the reason why when you went to the various security department or offices here in Nigeria at the beginning, they all refused their existence or their arrest?
No, they didn't refuse. They simply said that they were not responsible. There are many security agencies.
Okay.
The Department of State Security is responsible for internal security. They said we were not responsible. The police, of course, we know the role of the police in our countries. They also said they were not responsible. But from our investigation, we knew that the National Security Advisor, Office of National Security Advisor, supervises the security services. So with that, we now say, okay, if this is not responsible, that is not responsible, this person must know who is responsible. Yep. So it was based on our investigation that we discovered how it happened. Yeah. But
okay.
I don't have evidence that anybody
got corrupted
or, in fact, I will tell you something. It is not. I'm not even sure it's possible to corrupt a Nigerian official to do that, to carry out that kind of action. It was a politically motivated decision, whatever. Based on understanding maybe between two states.
Okay.
Right. So I wouldn't say that they were corrupted or anybody was. Nobody could have done that without the consent of or the authority of the president or
of the republic.
Yeah.
So clearly, are you insinuating that Paul Biya and Buhari agreed to proceed in what had happened?
I don't know. I'm not privy to what they discussed or what they don't discuss. I only know that Nigeria has no extradition treaty with Cameroon.
Okay.
And that the process of abducting or arresting and deporting these people was illegal, and the court has affirmed that. The court has also affirmed or confirmed that these people were not involved in any criminal activity. They were not involved in any action that violates Nigerian law or the laws of Cameroon.
Okay.
And there was no process to establish such acts, if there was any.
If there were any.
No such process was followed. The rule of law was not followed.
Okay. Well, Barrister Abdul Oroh, we will have a brief interruption. When we come back, we are going to talk about there is a story going around that the Naira 10 were betrayed. You know them very well. You know their family. Maybe we'd like to know more about that. What do you think? And then to tell us you have registered a victory, which means that the Nigerian law or Nigerian judicial system has recognized that it was unlawful, and they have asked for compensation. How will those laws or the victory you have just registered be put into practice? That is the question that I'm going to ask you in the second part of this interview.
Thank you.